Yo guys, it's your boy Mr. Rums here. Today I'm here to take you on a journey through my 100-day playthrough of Ark Extinction. Not just any simple playthrough of Ark Extinction, but a hardcore playthrough, where we're only allowed one life, whether it be by our hands, or the hands of a dinosaur, or the unforgiving environment and flora and fauna of Ark Extinction. Before we get into it, I'd like to give a quick shout out to two people, Luke the Notable and Zany Zebra, both early adopters of the 100-day hardcore playthrough series, and both true legendary survivors. Definitely take some time to go check out one of their videos. You won't be disappointed. Day 1, I spawned in the city biome and quickly made my way to my potential base spot. Looks like it's already claimed by the alphas. But to my surprise, my base location was already inhabited by a pretty rude tenant. Thankfully I prepared for this, and the Ichthy was no match for my bullas, my primitive spear, and my little monkey friend. Many of the Extinction city ruins have a never-ending water supply, and the best thing about these spots is, no sarcos or piranhas can spawn in these waters. This is good news, because my second hardcore attempt was quickly ended by a sarco. Safe and sound. Day 2 wasn't overly exciting. I mostly spent my time learning engrams and starting to build a little rudimentary base. The best thing about this location is that no mobs will spawn up here, with the exception of some Ichthys like we already seen, but they're pretty easy to deal with as long as you have some bolas. I didn't have to go far to gather a bunch of materials for tranks, and started focusing on getting some levels so I can get some much needed weight. Day 3, I pumped a bunch of levels into weight and went out gathering all the stone and flint that I could find. As you guys know, you need a ton of the core resources just to get a little base going. I was able to make a forge with the materials I gathered, and continued on my deforestation quest. I was able to get some good stone foundations down, and put up some primitive thatch walls just to give me a little privacy. Day 4, I continued the Breaking Bad simulator, and I came across a really sweet pair of wheels. Actually, I think I'm gonna pass up on this guy. Even though he'd be useless as a mount, taking him out and harvesting him will provide us with quite a bit of hide and raw meat. Where's your friends live? I spent the rest of my day touring the town and meeting all the locals. None of them were very friendly, but neither was I, so that was alright. I followed around the local terminators and just harvested the hides from all of their hunts. This was great. I thought I had it all figured out until I accidentally hit an enforcer with my axe while harvesting. No. Bulla go! My first hardcore attempt ended to one of those guys, so I'm happy I made it out alive. Day 5, I found one of Santiago's logs, which provided me with a nice XP buff. I immediately put this XP buff to work, and started taking out as many things as I could. Get it boy, get it boy, get it boy, get it boy. At this game stage, you really have to pick your fights wisely. So I chose all the slow animals and not the Brontos. Ooh. I also came across the potentially suitable mount. This PT was level 20, but at this game stage, that's kinda like it being max. I already had 100 chitin from following around the Terminators, so I quickly made a saddle. You'll have to do. He tamed out at level 30, but on day 6 I came across one that was at its space level before it was tamed. PTs only take a couple trank arrows to the head, so they're perfect pack mule tames at this point of the game. I used these PTs as pack mules to get a bunch of metal and stone up to my base. But the only thing that's better than a PT for a pack mule at this state is a tappy. And I was lucky enough to come across one. Why is it always gotta be bugs? After dealing with these venomous little pests, I quickly put my sights back on the tappy. Tappies tame up super easy, but getting close to one to be able to bullet it is a totally different ballgame. On top of that, I had a whole bunch of fans that I had to tend to before I could take care of the tappy. You little mates are lucky I have to play it safe. I spent most of day 7 doing this. After dealing with the threats, I quickly put my sights back on the tappy. Thankfully he was still there and didn't get spooked from all the commotion. Day 8 was spent doing the typical taming cycle. Bullying, knocking out, finding meat to tame them, and eventually taming them. While the tappy was taming, I came across this parasaur. Having a parasaur even at level 20 would definitely increase my level of play. You're gonna fit right in, buddy. I spent the rest of day 8 taming these guys and collecting all the stuff I need to make their saddles. What, you need a smithy for a tappy saddle? I couldn't make the tappy saddle, but I was able to craft the parasaur saddle. While I was doing this though, we ran into one of the local terminators. Tappy, no, I just got you. The Tapajara didn't make it, but thankfully I was already mounted on my parasaur, so I could make a quick escape. Give him a good Ark burial. After properly mourning the loss of the tappy, me and my parasaur set off to greener pastures. And though day 9 was filled with a lot of grief, we had to keep cool heads and push on. Day 10 I took all my berries and gathered up all my PTs and made my way back to base. I need a ton of tranks just to get this playthrough rolling, so that was the biggest thing on my to-do list. But like always, I can never go back to base and not do a little base upgrading. I split all my meat into stacks of 1 and waited for it to spoil. As all that meat is rotting in my inventory, me and my PT went out for a test drive. I also was able to tech up a little bit. I was able to make a spyglass with the crystal that I harvested, which is a huge upgrade. You would think I'd be a huge target with all this rotting meat on me. As day 11 rolled around, I was pleasantly surprised with this stego trapped between these tree roots. Can't get me here, bud. After the long and arduous process of tranking this guy, I finally had him dropped. This is exactly the kind of thing that I love about Ark. Our level 75 stego tamed out at level 112 afterwards. At this game stage, a level 112 stego is a great addition, but there was only one problem. He was stuck. Thank you, Thatch Foundation. With a little luck and a little help from the Ark physics, I was able to get this stego unstuck. And on day 12, I was able to really feel the fruits of my labor. More like the berries of my labor. As I grinded towards a whole inventory full of narco berries, I stumbled across another tappy. I probably would have passed up on him, but I was still mourning the loss of my last Tapajara, and this guy had a little bit of the event colors in him, so I had to grab him. After my new tappy tamed up, I gathered up the whole crew and we took to the base. Once we got back to base, I put my stego to work mowing the lawn. This gave me tons more berries. At this point I had 1,300 narco berries, and even more in my stego. This was going to give us enough tranks for a long time. Day 13 I spoiled a bunch more meat and loaded it up in my mortar and pestle. I also had to take my new tappy for a spin. Day 14, me and my tappy ventured down towards the green obelisk. I'm sure all of you already know if you played Extinction, but a lot of RGs spawn towards the green obelisk. Not just RGs, but T-Rexes as well. So this was a great spot to start building some traps. Yeah, this trap is not state-of-the-art at all. After farming up all the materials and building my janky trap, it was time to go out and scout an RG. My tappy and I took to the skies and we eventually found ourselves a good candidate. Day 15 was crowned RG day. I spent most of my morning trying to get the RG in the trap, but I successfully got him stuck after a little while. After what seemed like forever, I was able to successfully get the RG trapped and tranked. At this game state, level 55 was the highest I was able to scout. But even a level 55 RG can carry a lot more than my character or any of my PTs or my tappies. I had to reference the handy dodo decks to see how long it would take to tame and how much kibble or raw meat I would need. This is not sponsored. It's just a really handy tool if you're an Ark player. Thanks to the local supply of prime meat, I was able to get close to 100% efficiency. And then once he tamed up, I learned the engram for his saddle and gave him a fitting name. I can't count how many RGs I've named RG. Day 16, it was back to base with my RG and my tappy. I was also able to upgrade to the glass water skins. No more constant trips to the water supply. And since the RG doubles as a smithy, I was able to make a bunch of behemoth gates while I was out farming metal and core resources. I was also able to make a ton of stone walls thanks to the RG's high weight. And for the first time in a while, I didn't feel as exposed as I did before. The RGs are actual tanks in this game, and they can take out dinos that are even way higher than they are. And much thanks to the RG, on day 17, I was able to upgrade some tools and get a much needed flak armor set. I also had to learn the engram for the long neck as well as craft one. This will come in handy when I have a little bit more metal and tranks to spare. But on day 18, it was time to address one of my other concerns. Oh baby, 135 Rex. I got so lucky, and I was able to find a 135 Rex out here near Green Obelisk. And to my surprise, the Rex actually got stuck underneath one of these overhanging rocks. I had to clear out the rest of the area around this Rex to make sure nothing messed with my tame. Give me that prime meat. But since I was already taming a Rex, it was like killing two birds with one stone, as I needed a bunch of prime meat for this tame. Good Rex, stay right there, Rex. But after tranking it for quite a while, my anxiety got the best of me, and I already had these behemoth gates, and I knew I'd be coming back here to tame more Rexes in the future, so I might as well make a trap around him before he gets unstuck. Much comfier. Little did I know at the time, this decision may have saved my life or the whole playthrough. That's because after I cleared out all the surrounding dinos, it made room for more dinosaurs to spawn, and spawn they did. However, we can worry about that later. I'm safe inside my Rex tank. Once again, I had to reference the handy dodo decks, and as I was tapped out, I heard something banging on the doors of the trap. The trap's closed for the night, man. However, my RG made short work of the Carno, and I was able to gather more than enough prime meat to tame this Rex. And about halfway through day 19, the Rex was finally tamed, and I gave him a very fitting name. Tomato. After he was tamed, there was only one thing to do. Gather a bunch of cementing paste from the local beavers. With all this extra wood I got from the beaver dams, I decided to make another behemoth gate. Now this trap isn't just a trap, but a little base that I can store my dinos in while I'm down near Green Op. Having a secure little spot like this will definitely come in handy, at least until I get cryopods. I noticed this explorer note towards the top of my trap, so me and my Rex made our way up to the top to grab it quick. Tomato loves explorer notes. With our XP buff in hand, me and Tomato set out to get some much needed levels. I'd really like to get some cryopods from drops soon, so it's really important that I level up Tomato. But if we hope to survive in the harsh wastelands of Extinction, we're gonna need some ghillie armor. Tomato was able to gather all the organic polymer we'd need, so all I had to do was gather all the fiber with my metal sickle. And once we were decked out in ghillie, it was time to take to the wastelands. The corrupted dinos are like an XP farm in this game. As long as you have a dino that can handle a wave of 4 to 5 corrupted dinos. Day 21 was pretty much spending the duration of my XP note out in the wastelands farming corrupted dinos. On our way back to base, I heard a meteor dropping in the distance, so me and Meatball took to the wastelands to mark it out on our map. Yeah, this RG's name is Meatball now. If you open your map and hit P, you can place markers. It's super handy, but you have to be dismounted. Day 22, our detour ended, and we made it back to base, where we finally placed down our fabricator and loaded it up with all the polymer we farmed. These corrupted nodules that you get from the corrupted dinos works just the same as polymer. But unlike hard polymer, it expires, just like organic polymer, so it's important to use it up before it fully expires. As we were farming for all the stuff we needed to get our base out of the Stone Age and into the electrical era, we ran into archenemy number 1, Ichthyornis, although I was much better equipped this time. And by day 23 I had a full inventory of electricals, a bunch of behemoth gates, and a bunch of stone, so I could finally start my real base. The ruins right across the bridge from where I initially set up will make for a really good base location. You can pretty much gate the whole thing off with 4 behemoth gates and a bunch of the smaller gates, and I think it's really economical. Plus it'll give us a bunch of room to expand when we have more dinos and we want to start breeding. I'm sure you guys know how easy it is to get carried away with the building in Ark, so I tried to add all the really important clips without getting carried away too much. With my gates up, I felt my base was very secure. The only problem I had was this giant hole right in the middle of my base. All this pillaring. It's just like official. And so day 24, I started the long and arduous process of ground pillaring so that I could build ceilings above them. Thankfully, I didn't have to pillar down all the way to the ground for every ceiling. And since I don't have a Dodic yet, this was all done by hand, so I'm sure you guys can understand how much time this took with just an axe. By day 25, my main base was really starting to come together. The only thing that I was truly lacking on was metal. So I took Meatball out to harvest a bunch of metal and I made a forge to place in my new base. After I got my metal smelting, I decided to go out exploring on day 26. Tomato was still back at base, so I marked the drop and went back to base to grab him. By day 27, Tomato was completely healed up, and I took him out to this blue drop to see how he'd manage. This is going to be a cakewalk. I eat corrupted dinos for breakfast. Tomato was making short work of this blue drop, although it is a blue drop. It's been so long since I soloed one of these drops on a Rex, so I really wasn't sure what to expect. But I guess I shouldn't be surprised considering he's a nearly max tame Rex, on one of the easiest drops on Extinction. However, up until this point we were still using craftables and primitive gear, so everything that we got from this would be a huge tech upgrade. Give me the loot, give me the loot. We got a ton of good stuff, but what I was most excited about was all these really nice cryopods. These things are a huge quality of life improvement. On day 28 we spotted a 140 male Anki. We didn't have a trap close to base yet, so that was the first course of action. But thankfully that blue OSD gave us a bunch of stone materials that we could easily make a trap with. Nice. With the trap made, the last thing we had to do was get the Anki in the trap. Thankfully, he was waiting very patiently next to this trap the whole time. I quickly replaced some of the walls with some doors that I could shoot through, and started the process of tranking this Anki. After a short while, the Anki went down and was ready to be starved and fed. I can already smell the metal. And by the end of day 28, our Anki was tamed and ready to be cryoed. Man, I don't know how I played without cryos. On day 29, I took my new Anki named Hanky out to gather some metal. Hanky was making short work of all these metal nodes, and he was a great addition to our group. Ooh, baby jackpot. We also spotted a wild dung beetle, which I quickly tamed and named Dungy. And today's our lucky day. We found another 145 Anki. We quickly trapped him and went out to gather supplies to tame him. And while we were gathering berries, we came across this 145 iguanodon. We quickly put him up next to our trap and tranked him out. The city's a very hostile environment with all these little techs running around. So I choose to trank everything and trap everything up here on this little pillar. And to continue my luck, I found a 150 stego. Not just a 150 stego, but a 150 tech stego. I didn't have a trap on the ground and I couldn't pick him up with my RG, so I quickly made this little trap here in the corner. Once the stego was trapped, we referenced our handy dodo decks. Once again, this is not sponsored by Dodo Decks in any way. I just couldn't recommend it more to an Ark player. The rest of day 29 was pretty much spent tranking out this stego and feeding him, as well as getting our Anki knocked out. We got a lot of really good tames today, and the best thing about it is that I can cryo them all and easily get him back to base. Just look at that beautiful stego. The stego TLC is probably one of my favorite TLCs. Day 30, we got everybody back to base, and I named my other Anki Panky. And we put the new tech stego to work mowing the grass at our new base location. We started to outfit the rest of the base with a Fabby and some more pestle and mortars. With all these high-level herbivores, gathering berries is a breeze. So I continued stockpiling all the tranks I could. I also got another smithy made and managed to put that down right next to our Fabby. On day 31, I felt like it was time to start looking for some better tames. So I referenced the Ark Fandom's resource map and started looking for some Gigas and some Rex spawns close by. Unfortunately, I didn't come across the Giga just yet, but I did manage to find another 130 Rex, and it was really close by to the trap that we made previously. Getting this guy into the trap was no problem. But it wasn't just the Rex that I had to deal with, we also had company. We had an Alpha Raptor right outside of our trap, and Alpha Raptors have been known to aggro to structures just like these behemoth gates. And it wasn't just the Raptor I had to deal with. It seemed like Ark had spawned a ton of aggressive animals right next to my trap. I left Tomato at base, so it was kind of up to my RG to try to get the Alpha Raptor stuck. However, by day 32, I managed to get the Alpha Raptor far enough away from the trap to where I was comfortable tranking out this Rex. Tomato's gonna be so happy to have a girlfriend. I spent the rest of the day harvesting Prime and babysitting this Rex. To be honest, I was very worried that this Alpha Raptor was going to come in and ruin my taming effectiveness. But lo and behold, the Rex tamed up, and he was level 194 when it was all said and done. Day 33, it was time to take out my frustrations on this Alpha Raptor. The Alpha was level 100, and he was growing in power every minute, so I had to do something about it. Our new Lady Rex had a very powerful voice, so I had to give her a fitting name. Afterwards, I cryoed Mariah Carey and went out looking for some Dodix or some beavers. There's one. I had no luck on the Dodix, but I managed to find a couple beavers, so I quickly built a trap on day 34 and tried to trap one. And after spending all that time building a trap and luring the beaver into the trap, he disappeared through the water, never to be seen again. And so the rest of the day was spent decimating the local population and exploiting them for their resources. I did manage to trap a level 55 beaver, so he'll do for now. Day 35 was pretty much spent scouring the entire map for a high-level Doedicurus. And all my hard work would pay off when I finally made it to the desert biome, and I found not one, but 2 high-level Dodix. I quickly threw up a trap and wasted no time getting the Dodix trapped. Ooh, holiday colors. Having a trap in the desert biome is super important, as there's a lot of high-level Carnos that patrol this area. I worked through the night to get these Dodix tamed. And by day 36, I had 2 Dodix ready to take back to base, which I named Dumb and Dumber. Day 37 was hitting up this yellow drop that I noticed on my way back to base. Mariah Carey was still low HP, so I took Tomato out, and he made short work of this OSD. I literally almost lost this Rex. I got a ton of really good core resources, as well as a bunch more cryopods, which are a welcome addition. Day 38 was all about harvesting. It was time to put these Dodix to good use and get some much needed melee levels in them. The whole base is really starting to come together now. I feel like I have most of everything that I need to get a good base up and running. The only things I was severely lacking on was storage space for items and dinos, so I got to work making a vault and started putting down some more stone floors. Day 39, it was time to put all my accumulated narcotics and tranks to work. I made for the snow biome, and I set up a trap. This trap is going to help me easily tame up a bunch of snow owls and maybe even a good RG. I spent most of the day building if I wasn't harvesting for materials for the build. And by the end of the day I had a working trap that I could easily get a snow owl into. I spent the rest of the night and a lot of day 40 looking for an appropriate level snow owl. 140. Once I found one, I quickly lured him back to my trap and shut the doors. It's just me and you now, buddy. Before long, I had the snow owl knocked out and ready to be tamed. He tamed out at 209, which is pretty good for my first snow owl. The rest of the night I spent looking for snow owls, but I came across this level 75 mana and quickly trapped him between two gates. Day 41 was spent knocking out this mana. He tamed out at level 112, which isn't great, but it's better than nothing at this point. As night started to fall, I came across this really cool looking RG. He was super high level and a lot better than the RG that I had. I'm gonna name you Code Red. By the morning of day 42, our RG had tamed up, and I appropriately named him Mountain Dew Code Red. He's so rare. Day 43, I came across this mammoth. He was pretty high level, and I had some behemoth gates to use, so I put him to work. I never liked the snow biome on Extinction, so I had to seize the opportunity to grab a 140 mammoth while I could. I named her Mama, and I put her in a cryopod. 356 melee. Day 44, I got a glimpse of a Giga for the first time, but it was way too low to start taming. I did, however, run across this 140 male mana. Get in the trap, buddy. I spent the rest of the evening knocking out this mana. A 140 mana at this game stage is huge. Big man. Day 45, I came across the Daeodon. Daeodons are super useful for boss fights, so I had to trap him and trank him. Let me out! After taking care of the Daeodon, I came across a snow owl on the morning of day 46. He was level 140. This is super lucky. Big snow. Day 47, I started the long journey home. I'm really proud of my taming expedition in the snow biome. We got a lot of really helpful tames. Day 48 was all about crafting. I made a bunch of cable intersections to start getting some electricity in my base. And on day 49, I finally placed my Jenny. There's nothing sweeter than the sound of a Jenny. I continued placing all my cable intersections with a bunch of miscellaneous electrical stuff like lampposts and fridges. And by day 50, I'd make even Rockwell proud. I'm starting to look like a rich little survivor in my little ghillie outfit. I took care of my storage problem and started working on the irrigation system for my base. After I had an irrigation system, day 51 was spent building a real greenhouse. The best thing about this base location is that it allows for a greenhouse on the interior of the base. And we're going to need a lot of kibble. Day 52, I made a ton of air conditioners and started work on another project. I'm going to place a bunch of metal ceilings above these air conditioners to hide all of the air conditioners, but still be able to hatch eggs here. This will be my temporary hatchery. I'm just really excited to try to breed up some of those manas we got. And by day 53, we had a baby mana. I don't think I made my hatchery big enough, so I'll build a bigger one in the future, but I just wanted to see if it would work for now. On the morning of day 54, we spotted our first Quetzal. We really need a Quetzal. If we don't want to use snow owls for the boss fight, then we definitely would like to have a Quetzal, but that's way too low. We spent the rest of the day searching, and on day 55 we made our way into the underground biome. We definitely needed to get some gacha production going, so it was a worthwhile pit stop. Come on, Element. We continued taming a bunch of gachas with our snow owl, but we didn't have any luck finding an element one. Though we did get some pearls, so those are pretty good. On day 56, we ran back to the snow biome to try to get a better mana to breed. Our luck finding high level manas this time was a lot better. We found 2 level 135s and a 140. We were definitely spoiled for choice, so we decided to take them all. Day 57, we found another mana. And this one was a 140 female. This is definitely a welcome addition. And on day 58, we came across a near max level snow owl, so we had to grab him. Actually, we came across 2 of them. And if our luck couldn't get any better, on day 59 we came across the 140 Giga. Ooh baby, you're coming home with me. I unfortunately didn't have enough tranks to knock him out, so I built a trap and got him trapped before he ran off the side of the map. Come on baby, just get in the trap, get in the trap. Phew! Day 60, we made a quick trip back to base to repair our long neck, our crossbow, and make some more tranks. While we were here, we also decided to make up a bunch of kibble. For everything but a Giga, I'd probably just tame it with Prime, but because it's a Giga, having kibble is probably very important. It also gave me a good excuse to use up all those Rex eggs I've accumulated. Once again, I had to check Dodo decks to make sure I had enough kibble and trank arrows. And if it couldn't get any better, when I came back, it seemed like the Giga was stuck against the wall, which made for very easy tranking. Oh yes, total game changer, total game changer. It took most of the day to get him starved out and tamed. And thankfully I put the kibble on him before my character passed out from dehydration. What is this game? And by the morning of day 61, our Giga was tamed out at 140 melee, which isn't too bad. I still need to find a mate for him, so we can start breeding up some better Gigas for the boss fights, but this is a really good start. Day 62, I put my Giga to work building a suitable Giga pen. I went a little overboard with the pen, but I had a ton of metal to spend, so you know how it goes. Home sweet home. The ruins offer such great protection already, and a really cool base location as well. My biggest base on official was built in the same location, so I already know what you can and can't do here. I spent the rest of my day outfitting my base with cable intersections and making some cool green and purple lights. And on day 63, I decided to put some of my dyes to use on tomato. Big Mama's gonna need a paint job too. The rest of the day I spent crafting cable intersections and air conditioners for my next big project. This is gonna look so cool. I placed a bunch of air conditioners underneath this glass tile inside of my GigaPen. And yeah, it'll allow me to do some breeding on the inside in style. And with all these good snow owls we just got, I decided to put my hatchery to the test. I really don't like selective breeding. After naming all the snow owls with their appropriate stats, we started to wait for some babies to pop. And by the morning of day 65, we had a few juvenile babies to take care of. But like any good father, I left. I'll be right back, kids. I gotta go to the gas station. Really though, babies gotta eat, and they need a ton of raw meat. So that's what I did for the remainder of the day. If you kids get hungry, there's some SpaghettiOs in the cupboard. And after multiple meat runs, I had enough raw meat to raise maybe a dozen or so snow owls. Come on, give me some mutations. Day 66 was spent hand feeding all these snow owls. Finally a mutation. I also breeded up a little manna with one of the new breeding pairs I picked up in the snow biome. Day 67, I realized I didn't have enough troughs, so I made a bunch more and filled them up with my manna on meat runs. Be back soon, kids. Be good for your mom. On my meat run, I found myself in the wasteland, and I came across the low-level Giga. Unfortunately, it's not high enough for a breeding pair. I also gathered another note, and since all my troughs were already filled up, I decided I'd put this note to good use and try to get some levels in my Giga. Yellow drops are very easy on a Giga. As long as you position the mouth just right, it's pretty easy to solo them on a gig. Give me some ascendant tools, please. My Giga was flying through the levels, and since I was only leveling melee, I didn't have to wait for his HP to heal. I was feeling really good about this drop, and I thought there would be nothing that could stop me. The drop was going so well, and I was pumping all the melee damage into my Giga, until the unthinkable happened. What is this, Ark? As I'm sure you guys can see, a meteor shower started as I was on the final waves of the drop. Thankfully though, I was able to take cover in these deserted ruins, and there goes the neighborhood. My Giga got stuck as I was trying to flee the drop. I was really cutting it close for time. The second that I got my Giga into the safety of the ruins, the meteor shower really started. That would have been my Giga. I know wildcard severely nerfed the damage from the meteor showers, but I really didn't want to chance it on this Giga. As the meteor shower ended and day 68 drew to a close, I started to head back to base. But on day 69, on my way back to base, I stumbled across this blue drop. When in Rome. Since I was already here, and the last drop was a complete disaster, I figured I'd wait it out and take on this drop with my Giga and my mana. You guys make this look so easy. After what happened the day before at the yellow drop, I was so close to just walking past this drop and heading back to base. But after being showered with loot, I couldn't be more happy with my decision to hit the drop up. On day 70, I did a bunch of base stuff. I made a bunch of war maps, and finally got some more cooked meat. At this point, I was still using pretty much primitive tools, so I was trying to pump as much stuff out of the gachas as I could. You can get gachas to produce this colorful crystals with about anything, but I like to make war maps, as they're really easy to make and the gachas seem to really like them. I still had almost a half a vault of wood from farming for my war maps, so I decided I'd make a bunch of these taxidermy bases. This is so cool. In all of my playthroughs and my thousands of hours of Ark, I really never even used the dermis tool or the taxidermy bases, so I may have gotten a little carried away. On day 72, I took one of my snow owls and said to this guy, I had a certain target in mind, and after searching for most of the day, I finally found him. A 144 male Quetzal. I previously ran into this guy as I was farming raw meat out in the wastelands, and I spooked him so I knew he'd be close to 50-50 on the map. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to freeze bomb him onto the ground, but after a while of following him, I got him stuck in this little trap I made. Sweet, sweet victory. I went a little overboard with my trap, but there was no way I was letting this guy escape after all this work. Taming a Quetzal off the ground is probably the most ideal situation, just because there's a lot of nasties and carnivores on the ground. But I have to admit, I got super lucky to get him stuck up here. After waiting for most of the evening for him to tame up, I decided to check on him, and I noticed he started to fall out of our trap. Oh no. However, I came prepared to tame him on the ground anyways, so it was easy to defend him with my cryo giga. And it wasn't long before he was tamed up, and we finally had ourselves a high-level tech Quetzal. In Extinction, it's really easy to solo the Desert Titan with a Quetzal, and we'll get into that in a little bit. I was so excited to have a Quetzal. This means we could take on the Desert Titan with ease. I ran back to base the next day, and quickly made the platform saddle. Day 73 was all about making him a saddle and getting him set up for the next boss fight. Soloing the Desert Titan is a real breeze if you're able to get a Quetzal with a platform saddle that has at least a little bit of HP. So I began sinking all the foundations closer to the level of the platform saddle. This will allow me to build a little bunker on top of the platform saddle that I can easily hide in when I'm fighting the Desert Titan, and if I get knocked off, I can easily access the ride on the saddle. And after my saddle was good to go, I threw some stairs on the back of it and decided to take Hanky out for some metal gathering. I'm sure a lot of you guys already know, but an Anki on a Quetz platform saddle is a really good way to gather metal. You can pretty much slot cap your Anki, as all the mobility is up to the Quetzal. This was pretty much the majority of day 74. I was able to pretty much slot cap both of my indie forges. And by day 74, I set out for the desert biome so that I could start collecting the artifacts for the boss fight. This cave is the worst. With a little perseverance through the annoyances of the cave, I was able to make my way to the boss area. You are going on passive. And with my new artifact in hand, I went over to the boss terminal to take inventory on all the stuff that I'll need to summon the Desert Titan. After a quick trip back to base, I made my way to the snow biome so I could grab the artifact of the void. And with all the stuff that I brought from base, I decided I'd make another trip to the tribute terminal so I could make a cryo fridge. Why can't you just craft these in city terminals? Getting back out of the snow cave was more than a hassle. Level 245 dire bear, that should be illegal. However, this little trip into the snow biome would definitely pay off once I found out what was in this yellow drop. Ascendant tools, ascendant tools, ascendant tools, please. I was really hoping for an ascendant hatchet, but what I got was even better. A 336 long neck rifle. On day 77, I set my sights on collecting all the materials I would need to summon the bosses. In the Forbidden Zone, you can find a bunch of corrupted wyverns and corrupted rexes, which are definitely needed for the boss fight. After massacring every corrupted dino I seen, I started to make my way back to base. And on day 78, I finally had a cryo fridge. Better late than never. I took inventory on all the stuff I needed to summon the bosses, and I realized I had enough to summon the Desert Titan. So I started loading everything up in my Quetzalcoat, and we took for the desert biome. By day 79, we were in the desert biome, and I parked my Quetzal on one of these cliffs and grabbed my mana to set off into the cave. You guys stay right there. There's a bunch of nasties on the ground of the desert cave, so the mana makes short work getting to the transmitter. And by day 80, we were at the desert terminal, and we were ready to summon up the desert boss for the first time. Oh, desert kaiju, where are you? I quickly jumped on my mana and ran up to the cliff where my Quetzal was parked. As you can see, I built a little 1x1 on top of the Quetzal platform. This little 1x1 is going to do a lot to shield us from the electrical attacks of the flock. It's not 100% safe, but as long as you come prepared with some parachutes in case of an emergency, it's really easy to take the Desert Titan out solo with this method. Not even breaking a sweat. The battle with the Desert Kaiju ensued all through the night. The tail takes so long. It actually took all of day 81 just to take down the node on the tail. But after a lot of trial and error, I managed to tame him on day 82. You're coming home with me, buddy. And on the rest of day 82, I tamed him and named him Big Desert, and started my venture home. By day 83, I was back at base, and it was time to make him a little loading dock. The Desert Titan makes short work of all the OSDs and the element veins out in the wasteland, so I needed an easy way to unload and load up this guy. Now this is high tech. I used a large elevator platform to make an elevator loading dock, where I could place some storage containers and easily load all the element and all the loot that I'm getting out in the wastelands. And on day 84, I took to the wastelands to start farming up a massive amount of element. I'm gonna need a lot more element. By the end of day 84, my vaults were starting to look pretty good. I was filling them all up with element, but it wasn't enough for what I had planned. Gotta get more loot, I came across this red drop and decided to put my Desert Titan to work, and it definitely paid off. What's a man gotta do for an ascendant axe? I also defended another element node, but I used my Giga this time around. Whistling a Giga that's on the ground and riding the Desert Titan really makes short work of these element veins. You can pretty much AFK out and watch a movie or a video and just click as you see necessary. I spent the majority of day 86 doing just that, AFKing and making element. Why are all my YouTube ads for retirement homes? It was a pretty uneventful day 86, but I got a ton of element made, and this is definitely going to help me out for what we have planned next. And day 87 was a bunch more base stuff. My vaults were really starting to fill up, and I was looking like a rich little survivor again. And on day 88, I had my best idea yet.
Be a player, but your wheels ain't flying.
Let's hope I don't get a copyright strike for that. And on day 89, we went out farming element with my new set of wheels. You've got to pimp my heart. Day 90, I forced some drops to spawn by logging in and out. I already had them all mapped out on my map, so finding them was a breeze. The new paint job on my Desert Kaiju definitely added a ton of horsepower, because we were flying through this OSD. My Giga would make short work of everything on the ground that was small, and all I had to do was target the flyers with my flock. I knew Titans were strong, but man, this is just game breaking. With a little help from my Giga, we managed to get this OSD done in short time. And once again, we were promptly showered with loot. Come on, Ascendant Axe, come on. It's really nice to have this Desert Titan to farm these drops. Up until the point where I got the Titan, I really was lacking for good supplies and tools. But I still didn't get my Ascendant Axe, so I tried to hit up a couple more OSDs before the day was over. Get in there, Giga. It's your time to shine. My Giga was doing really well through all the blue drops and the yellow drops, but it's safe to say he didn't fare so well in the red drops. Did I really almost just lose by Giga? I had just enough time to cry on my Giga and jump back on my RG so that I could get on my Titan. It was a really close call though. No more red drops for you, Giga. I think it's safe to say that I'll leave the red drops to my Desert Titan from now on. But the Desert Titan made short work of it anyhow. Come on, give me some good tools. I got a bunch of great drops, but I didn't get any good tools or any mechs yet. But on day 91, my luck was about to change. I guess I can just make a level 51 mech then. Day 91, I force spawned a bunch of the red drops by logging in and out of the game. Come on, Mac, come on, Mac. The first drop of the day, I didn't get anything good other than a bunch of materials and gates. But I kept at it, and on my second red drop, my luck was about to change. This is going to be the one, I can feel it. Oof. I really can't overstate how strong these Desert Titans are for farming OSDs. The Desert Flock pretty much decimates everything on the ground. And once again, we were showered with loot. And this time, we actually got something really good. Come on, give me a mech, give me a mech, give me a mech. Ooh, a 106 BP for a mech. It's better than nothing, we'll take it. Our mech rolls weren't that perfect, but it's better than the level 51 mech that you can craft by yourself. Get wrecked, fool. Day 92 was more farming of the red drops. We were really looking for something that was a little better than the 106. We managed to get a really good mana saddle though, and that'll help us out in the upcoming boss fights. And speaking of boss fights, it was time to start preparing for the endgame of Ark Extinction. We made our way back to the initial base spot that we set up our first little hut on day 1. We placed down a bunch of metal foundations, some vaults, and some cryo fridges. We hit up another yellow drop on day 93, and then we went back to base to start crafting up some more metal foundations. Day 94 was more farming and crafting. We even added some more dermises to our little taxidermy area. It's starting to look really cool. It's not goodbye, it's I'll see you later, Desert Titan. After making a proper memorial for our Desert Titan that we're about to lose, we went back to our new little base spot and started to build up our new Quetzal platform. The reason that we're remodeling our platform saddle and doing a little renovations and expansions to our base is because we're about to go kill the Desert Titan for those tech engrams. It's day 94, I really need to get a move on. So we took our newly outfitted Quetzal back to the desert biome. I probably should have killed him before I tamed him. And with another quick trip to the Desert Titan cave, it was time to get ready to take on the Desert Titan once again. Oh my god, I forgot that I couldn't have 2 Desert Titans on the map at once, so we had to make another detour back to base to properly put him down before we could actually summon him. I can't believe I just did that. But with my Desert Titan down and my artifact in hand, it was time to summon him once again. This time I'm not going to be so nice. We loaded up the tribute terminal and got ready for our big battle with the big bass. I mean the Desert Titan. Maybe he looks more like a manta ray. But we were ready, and this time we were going to get some engrams out of it. And by the start of day 95, we were ready to take him on. I quickly cryoed my mana and jumped back on my Quetzal and threw out the Giga on top of the platform saddle that we just built. With a little bit of remodeling, we were able to turn our platform saddle into a little Giga pen. The Giga makes short work of the Desert Titan, as you can see, and it's all from the safety of our little 1x1 box. However, with the addition of the Giga in the pen, the flock's targeting range changes quite a bit from what it was when we were taming it, so make sure to pack some parachutes just in case you get dismounted. After a quick dismount, we made our way back up to the Desert Titan, and the Giga was making short work. Well, until I got dismounted again. But you're pretty safe, as long as you have some parachutes. Typically the flock will just stick to the Giga, so you don't have to worry about it too much. This really could have ended my playthrough though. Go grappling hook. After a couple close calls, the Desert Titan was really starting to fall in HP. This is why it's so important to have a Quetzal that you can tank with. So close, so close, so close, so close. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Tom Cruise. And with all our new tech engrams, it was time to make our way back to base. Day 95 and I just got my replicator in Jenny. And on the morning of day 96, we took a little photo op with our new prize, and then quickly made our way back to base. We gathered all the necessary stuff so that we could craft our tech replicator, and made our way over to the desert cave to use the terminal to craft it. But not before enjoying the sights a little bit. Monkey, you've been with me this whole time. I'll never let you go. And after unloading everything from Mountain Dew Code Red, we put everything in the terminal and got ready to craft our first tech replicator. This is going to change everything for 4 days. We hurried home and promptly placed down our tech replicator on our new metal foundations. It really felt so good to have a replicator. I really should have prioritized getting the replicator engrams before, but at least we have them now. With our replicator, we were able to craft a whole bunch of stuff that we couldn't before, like some Deddy storage boxes and a Jenny, as well as a tech trough, which will definitely help us breed up some gigas. I should have been at this point like 20 days ago. We made one of the mechs we got from the drop, and then decided to craft up a tech trough so we could get to breeding. Breeding 1 or 2 gigas with a normal trough is pretty easy, but when you want to do a bunch of mass breeding like we're about to do in a short amount of time, having some tech troughs is so invaluable. And now that our base is really starting to come together, I felt like it was time to do a little customizing. You've got to pimp my hide. After spending the rest of the day customizing their hides, I took my snow owl out on the start of day 97 to find a suitable partner for our giga. Get in the trap, get in the trap. Nice. And with our new giga suitor trapped, it was time to start the process of knocking him out and taming him. Thankfully, with our taming rates, we were able to get the Giga tamed up before the end of the day, and we quickly made our way back to base. Once we got back to base, we wasted no time getting the Gigas mating. We had to turn up the mating interval so that they could get enough babies pumped out in time. I also had to turn down the day and night speed, just so that we'd have enough time to finish this playthrough. We wasted no time getting all of our tech drops totally topped off. Daddy's got mouths to feed. And we were right on time, because as I turned around I noticed that my gigas were pumping out eggs at an extraordinary rate. Yes, yes, yes. At this rate, I really don't know if I have enough time to start breeding selectively for mutations, so I'm just going for a mass amount of gigas at this point. I did, however, manage to get one suitable female that I could speed up the breeding process with. and I eventually got one mutation, which was a weight mutation, so it really wasn't helpful for what we needed them for, but it'll do for now. Thankfully, we've already been preparing and gathering a bunch of resources to make a ton of saddles for these guys. And the cryo fridges are right there, so we can get them healed up and cryoed and ready for the boss fights. It's really starting to look like a full house. I grabbed my snow owl and put it to use healing up all the gigas that were coming out. But that's when I remembered that I didn't have a UT yet, so I set out to the snow biome to quickly tame a Uteranus. Don't fear me, don't fear me, don't fear me. We quickly found a suitable UT and got him trapped and tranked in no time. Hurry up, bud, we don't have a lot of time. The Uteranus will definitely be a nice addition to our Giga troop, as the Uteranus has an ability that can buff up other nearby dinos, definitely making it a worthwhile addition for any boss fight. This is the best name I could come up with, as we were already very limited for time, and I could feel the pressure setting in. But as we got back to base, I noticed a lot of the gigas were still bloody, so I quickly grabbed Dawn the Daeodon and brought him over to use his healing ability to try to speed up the process a little bit. Do your thing, Dawn. Daeodons can easily starve themselves if you enable the passive healing, but we have a bunch of leftover meat in the tech drops, so I think it'll be alright for a little while. Plus we had a lot to do. We quickly made our way back to the desert cave, to once again tame up the desert titan. I feel like I've been here before. As we got back to the boss terminal, I noticed something kind of suspicious. Our monkey friend must have been left behind here during one of our past escapades. Monkey, I'm so sorry. So we quickly cryoed him and started loading up the boss terminal. Leave no monkey behind. And then once again, we cryoed our mana and jumped on our Quetzal. I'm so thankful that we got this Quetzal, because if we didn't, this whole process would have been a true pain. Even with the Quetzal, the playthrough almost ended multiple times during the Desert Titan fight. We had to do some last minute remodeling to stop the flock from dismounting us during the fight, but once we did, we were right back at it. And just like that, we were proud owners of a Desert Titan once again. We quickly made our way back to base and crafted a bunch of stuff in our replicator, mostly armor and whatnot, stuff that'll help us in the upcoming boss fights. By this point, all of our gigas were mostly healed up, so I started pumping them in melee damage. Then we set up the entire giga troop in the snow biome, fairly close to where the snow titan will spawn. This might be a little overkill. With all of our gigas prepared, we made our way through the snow cave so that we could access the boss terminal and get the snow titan ready to go. X gonna give it to you. Gonna give it to you. And from the back of my mana, I led the charge to the snow titan. All the gigas were doing really well, and they were making short work of the snow titan. Why do only half of you listen to whistles? A few members of my Giga army were getting distracted, so I deployed my mech to make up for lost time. And make up for lost time we did. The Snow Titan was down, and we had all the engrams that we could get from him. We also got a bunch of juicy loot. Like any of this will be useful at this point. Although none of the loot was very useful, the tech engrams were a nice addition to our playthrough. How did you get hit so much? So I crowded up the rest of my gigas that were on the battlefield, and quickly made my way back to the snow cave once again. Ascendant Sickle. This would have been useful like 50 days ago. And with everything loaded back up in the tribute terminal, it was time to summon the Ice Titan once again, but this time to tame him. And since we're already short on time, and this is a hardcore solo playthrough, We're going to be cheesing the Ice Titan a little bit with our Mac. I don't think Wildcard wanted this. Parking your mech on one of the high ledges is a pretty foolproof way to save spot the Ice Titan. You can pretty much use just a little bit of element to save spot all of the nodules from the safety of one of these ledges. And in a matter of no time at all, the Ice Titan was down and tamed. This had to be the cheesiest boss fight in all of Ark. We named him Iceman and started the long journey back home. And I mean a long journey. It was already well into day 98 by the time we made it home, so I threw out the rest of my gigas to give them a chance to heal up using the tech trough and my day at dawn. And at this point we took a break, only to log back in and see that our save file was mysteriously missing. Ark. Thankfully I prepared for this and had my files backed up. And the only thing that I had lost when I logged back in were my graphics settings and all of my engrams. So I unfortunately had to use the console to learn all the engrams again, because I did not have time to go back through the boss fights. And we grabbed a bunch more of our gigas out of the cryo fridge and started our way over to the forest biome. Once we got there, we wasted no time readying the troops and getting ready for the Forest Titan boss. The Forest Titan is probably the easiest of the three if you don't count cheesing the Desert Titan, so this will be a cakewalk. We quickly made our way through the forest cave and loaded up the tribute terminal with all the necessary ingredients to spawn the Forest Titan. Gotta go fast, gotta go fast, gotta go fast. As I rode my mana into the charge, we pretty much just hit him with our ice bolt and let the gigas do all the heavy lifting. Man, you gigas do not listen to whistles very well. And although only about half of the gigas wanted to join the fight, the ones that did were making very short work of the Forest Titan. And just like that, the Forest Titan was down and we got all the juicy loot and would have learned the engrams if our little mishap didn't happen earlier. We quickly gathered all of our troops and made our way back down into the forest cave for the last time. Can't get me up here, guys. And just like that, we were back at the terminal and ready to summon the Forest Titan. But this time, we were going to take him home with us. Let's go, let's go. The process of taming the Forest Titan is pretty much exactly the same as the Ice Titan, except there's not really a good spot that you can save spot him, so you just kite him around, hitting him with your laser, until he eventually gets stuck. The nodules on the Forest Titan were going down even faster than that of the Ice Titan, and we were pretty much making short work of him. Just one more to go, one more to go. And before long, all the nodules were destroyed and we had ourselves a Forest Titan. I'm gonna name you Groot. And with our newly tamed Forest Titan, we started the long journey back home. I think he's broke. And with all of our Titans back home, we took inventory of all of our gigas and we decided to craft up the last pieces of tech gear that we didn't have. And you know I had to put a little paint job on them. And for the first time in all of the playthrough, I felt like we were comfortable with taking on the King Titan. It is day 98 and we are just now ready to take on the King Titan. I've always been a procrastinator. So we cryoed up every single thing that we had that we could throw against the King Titan, and finally gave our Desert Titan a fitting name, and started the farewell journey to say goodbye to all of these dinos that we accumulated over the last 98 days. I know they're just pixels, but they're my pixels. And in the last little bit of day 98, we finally made some teleporters, and we're gonna set one up here at base. I'll name this one Base. We grabbed all of our trophies that we'll need to summon the King Titan and did some last minute preparations, and then it was time to set off. I'd like to set up a teleporter at the corrupted terminal, but before then we had to make a quick pit stop so I could gather some Alpha Tyrannosaurus teeth. You can easily gather them from these corrupted tech Rexes that you can bait out of the red drops, and you can just let the drop fail and just wait for these guys to spawn. And the Titanoboa venom was easy enough to farm. Headshot. And after that, we were all finished and ready to start preparations for our last day here on the Ark. We threw down some metal foundations so that we could put our teleporter pad on top and place down a tech Jenny to power it. I really can't believe it's been 98 days. It's bittersweet, this playthrough coming to an end. Let's just hope we come out victorious. After the teleporter was all set up, we wasted no time getting our Giga army ready to roll. Gotta set you guys to aggressive. We don't want any slackers. And after a long while, we had all the Gigas deployed and set to aggressive, so we don't have any slackers. We flew down to our teleporter so we could make our way back to base. We still had to get our 2 Titans up to the King Titan terminal. That's when I noticed that we still had a ton of element and other supplies left over, so I decided to make a tech sword as well as a tech railgun. I grabbed the rest of our element and put it in the Ice Titan to start the long journey up to the King Titan terminal. Can you move any slower? I thought getting the Ice Titan up to the King terminal was long, but the Forest Titan only moves at a leisurely stride, so it was a much longer expedition. But we still managed to get all of our Titans and all of our Gigas up to the King Titan terminal before the end of day 98. And on the beginning of day 99, we had everything ready to go and in the terminal. The only thing to do now was summon the King Titan. These Gigas are gonna get destroyed. Alright Gigas, go, 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 go. Listen to my whistles, please. Listen to my whistles. Why aren't you guys attacking the King Titan? Attack the King Titan. You're on aggressive. Although we only had the Desert Titan and about half of my Giga army attacking the King Titan, they were still putting a huge dent in his health bar. Come on guys, come on guys, come on. Groot, get over here. You're gonna end up dying before you did any damage. Oof. Well, nobody died just yet. I knew I could count on the Desert Titan to attack my target, so I went over to grab the Ice Titan. Even in full tech, I feel like a sitting duck. Oh no. Oh no. Most of the Giga army got destroyed, but by this time, the Ice Titan and the Forest Titan were both on him, so he really didn't stand much of a chance. Oh yes, that's what I'm talking about, baby. Ooh, I should make that my thumbnail. After assessing the damage and going to collect all the juicy loot, I jumped back on my Forest Titan to really get a good scope of the damage. It wasn't even worth it to breed all those Gigas. They didn't stand a chance. After a small farewell ceremony for all our fallen comrades, I went to go take numbers on all of our survivors and collect all the saddles from the Gigas we lost. I mean, just in case I want to use this world again. I spent some time running around to allow the party to heal up a bit before we took on the next boss fight. I'm still so shook that all those Gigas got decimated so quickly. I know they weren't super mutated Gigas, but I really thought they'd last a little bit longer than the first fight. Rest in peace, you'll never be forgotten. However, there was no more time to mourn. I quickly gathered up the surviving troops and allowed them to heal up a bit, and then it was time to set our sights on the second difficulty of the King Titan. When I started this video, I figured I'd maybe make it to the first difficulty, but I didn't think I'd make it past the first difficulty. So while we're here, let's just see if we can take on the second. Plus it was only day 99. Truly we still had one more day to call it 100 Days of Hardcore Ark. So let's see what we can do on the second difficulty. All of these dead Gigas. Come on guys, attack, 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 attack. What? Get in there, attack. Oh, come on now. After a bit of convincing, I finally got my Giga army to aggro onto the King Titan. But my Ice Titan was still just hanging out, and my Desert Titan wasn't doing much at all. At least I could count on Groot. Well, kind of. He was doing something. Finally, you guys listened to my whistles. With the Giga army whistled to the King Titan, I quickly jumped on the Ice Titan to start putting some real damage onto the King Titan. Oh man, Groot. The Gigas seemed to be taking a break, but between the Ice Titan and the Forest Titan, we were really putting a dent in his HP. I was starting to feel good about this boss fight. That was until the rest of my Gigas, well, most of my Gigas, got decimated. I'm kinda happy I didn't go for mutations. It would have been such a waste. So the TLDR of this video seems to be that you really only need the Titans to take on the King Titan. A Giga army would probably help, especially if you had a few people that go with you. Maybe some Rexes would have done better if you would have pumped them with HP, but the Gigas seem to get pretty much one shot by his ground pound, so I just recommend bringing the Titans for this boss. And Groot dealt the last hit, and he's still only at half HP, and my Ice Titan is almost at full still. So yeah, I'd say the Titans are super strong against the King Titan. We got a bunch more good loot, but it's all kind of useless at this point. But one good piece of loot we got was a Journeyman MOMI, or a MOMI, which will allow us to put 3 mechs together to make one of the super mechs, which is going to be good against the next difficulty. We emptied our inventory, and then we jumped off of our Titan so that we could do the Ascension. But we weren't just done here, we were going to come right back. Ooh, that was such a good cutscene, but no spoilers just yet. I promise, it's coming soon. After downloading our survivor back to the Extinction map, we quickly ran over to our teleporter pad and made our way back up to our Titans. Their HP levels were still looking pretty good, with the exception of Groot, so we waited a little bit until he got some HP back. It was still only day 99, and I was super excited about my new specimen implant. Ooh baby, Homo Deus record. Since our friendly Desert Titan, Barbara Manatee, decided to sit out that last battle, she was pretty much at full health, so I made sure to set her to aggressive and set her targeting distance to high. And with all of our Titans healed up, I began deploying the 3 low-level mechs that I brought from base. When you use the Momi to make the Mega Mech, the base level of the mechs you use doesn't matter at all, so I like to use the low-level primitive ones instead of my nice mechs. It's not like it's gonna matter anyways, they'll probably get destroyed. But with my mind in the right place and all my mechs deployed, it was time to take on the big boss. Go go Power Rangers. Oh, come on. Yes. I could already feel it. The Mega Mech was gonna make mincemeat out of this King Titan. Everyone's actually attacking him. It definitely helped that the rest of my Titans were attacking the King Titan. Well, Barbara Manatee was off doing her own thing, but it's not like it really matters much anyways. My lord, this Mega Mech is so powerful. This is why they don't... Oh, Barbara Manatee. With Barbara Manatee down, it was really time to get serious. But the Mega Mech was still over half HP, so the King Titan didn't stand much of a chance. It's a little buggy, but we'll take it. Go go self-destruct seats. Phew. And with the King Titan down, we've actually completed this map. As you can see, I have the Homodia skins in my inventory, and we got a ton more good loot, but that's not the best part of it. The best part is that we finally get to ascend on the highest difficulty, and just in time for day 100. I emptied my inventory once again and prepared for the ascension. I mean, just in case I ever want to come back to this map. I really can't believe I made it to day 100. We've accomplished so much over these last 100 days, and we really did the time crunch in the last 10. I'm so stoked I've had all of you along with me for the journey, and a big thanks to everybody who made it to this point of the video. You guys are absolute legends. If you like content like this, show this video some love so I can continue making more content on Ark and survival games that we all love. And with that, this has been your boy Rumsey, and I'll be quiet now and let this really cool cutscene play out. Till next time, guys, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.
Absolutely beautiful. Go on, take a look. It's finally begun. The Arks are coming home. Each one carries with it the seeds of new life. Plants, animals, and humans. And these seeds will take root across the far corners of the world. Once they do, all that life will be unleashed. From there, it will spread, grow, and thrive. And this planet, our home, will bloom once more. As for the rest of the infection, well, the Arks can take it from here. In time, they'll purge every last bit of it from its soil. But make no mistake, this is all thanks to you. I'm just glad I got to see it. Look at that. Sun's rising.